Hey everyone, RC Kid here. Today I'm going to give you guys a newbie tutorial on how to fly drones, or everything you need to know, to get started. So what I would first recommend is get a cheap drone if this is your first time flying. Here with me I have the Dramita, Ominous. It's a pretty dang good drone. I have two of these, my blue one, which I kind of got for parts, but yeah, they are a really good drone. I would highly recommend them. I don't know if they produce them anymore, because Dramita kind of tends to drop off with their products. But first thing after you have your drone, some drones I would recommend are Propel makes micro drones. They're like $20 in Walmart. I would get one of those if you've never ever flown a drone before and you're really interested in it. It's nothing too big, and that's probably one of the cheapest drones you'll find. And a lot of them are pretty stable too, so I wouldn't really worry about it breaking. But hey, let's get going, shall we? Again, I would recommend, as far as like the conditions, if you're doing it outside, kind of keep away from trees. This isn't really a good example, but don't do it in too much wind, especially if it's a micro drone. If it's a bigger one, I wouldn't worry about it. But the Ominous is a pretty lightweight drone. It's super durable, but it's pretty lightweight, so it kind of gets knocked around in the wind a little bit. But all right, let's get straight to flying, shall we? So, kind of start out trying to get a good feel for everything. What I would recommend is just kind of get a feel for everything, and if you need to adjust sensitivity, go ahead and adjust, trim it out, everything you need to do, get it over with before you start in with the more intense kind of practice and the maneuvering, just so it'll be easier and you'll have more control and you can kind of predict where your drone's going to go better. Just kind of start out with some hard maneuvering. Get the idea of how sharp it can turn. Try getting a feel for just flying in all the directions. Most drones should have an indicator on the back, indicating the back of it, but like this one with a red light. I would highly recommend not doing this on an open road or a parking lot. There's a church near me, or not a church, there's an open parking lot near me that I like to take my remote control cars and stuff on, so that's where I would recommend. Again, these are not prime weather conditions, but I kind of want to give you guys an idea of what you shouldn't be flying in. Basically, extreme basics. Left stick is basically changing the elevation on the drone. The right one is the one you're going to be using primarily. Once you get the left stick in really the position you kind of want it, if the wind's not knocking it around too much, you should be able to really kind of leave it alone. But always keep a close eye on it, because if you're starting to go down and you don't want to go down, bring it up, and it does change quite a bit. So, and then also kind of rotate it around. Remember, remember your front and back though. With drones, if you get the front of it with pretty much everything, it's gonna be the opposite. So if you're seeing the front of it, which is if if you're seeing the front of it, which is this part, or the gray cone looking thing on mine, if you're seeing that, then just remember everything is opposite. So if you're going left and you need to go right to avoid a tree or something, go the opposite. So imagine the red light is the front of the drone. Go the opposite way that you would want to go. Obviously, this is the back, and how you move is where it's gonna go. But drone flying, while it is kind of it's not the easiest thing in the world, and especially when you start getting into those serious high-tech drones, it does get very difficult. But as soon as you understand the basics, you can really fly any drone. What I would recommend is learn how to fly a plane first. They're completely different, but it kind of gives you a sense of like everything in the air you need to understand. And once I repair my little plane, I'll make a video on plane tutorials, and then I'll make a car one here soon. But basically, just focus on getting just the maneuverability. Discover what your drone, and sometimes the propellers, like how they've been hit on something, or if you put the propellers in wrong, that can cause all sorts of issues. A lot of drones can do flips. I'm not going to try it because obviously the wind's pretty powerful. Also, what I would really strongly recommend is don't go too high, especially with a lighter drone and serious weather conditions, because it will be harder to control. I have lost a couple drones to that, my own foolishness. If you really want to try flips, get to the right height you need to be at, and then attempt it. What I would highly recommend is do not go, kind of estimate, alright, the drone's going to flip over. I would give it about 3 feet of just the drone flipping over, and at least 10 feet of the drone dropping before it regains stability. With that, if yours has a really good gyro sensor, it can recover even faster. But I would, as a baseline, give it at least 13 feet or more. If it's a heavier drone, give it more. If it's a lighter one, then obviously give it a little bit less. But at least 13 on these bigger ones. And these winds are getting a little powerful. But also be mindful of the corners of the drone. The motors get damaged super easily, and the propellers, on mine at least, the props are very, very durable. I mean, I've smacked the sucker into a lot of stuff, and I've only changed the back left propeller once, only because it snapped. But that's the only propeller I've had to change on this since I've owned it, and I've owned it for about 2 years. So if you use it right, drones can go, the propellers can go way longer than you think. Training cages, that's another thing I need to get on. I love training cages, but they do add a little bit more weight to a drone. I would not recommend doing any serious turns, flips, anything with a training cage. Just get, if you feel like you need more understanding of how your drone works, use the training cage for all means. They are really useful tools. But basically, after you get your first drone, if you really understand how they work, most drones aren't too diverse. A lot of them basically have that same concept. But I personally only use the training cages when I first get them completely out of their boxes, just to kind of get a feel for it. And these winds are a little too powerful for this right now, so it's kind of having issues. So I think I'll just shut her off and then talk a little bit more. Alright, so I went inside, and here I have with me a training cage in case some of you don't know what I'm talking about. This goes to my Star Wars Propel drone. One of them. I've got the TIE Fighter and the Starfighter. But, so this is kind of what I was talking about. I'll use it as a demonstration with this, but it obviously won't fit on. So, most drones, they have the motors sticking down. On this one, at the very bottom of it, is a padding for landing, which is really useful. I thought that was a good feature. Basically, you stick these little clips right here, or clamps, around the motor, so it'll align straight up. And then the propellers will spin either down here, which is what mine does, and then when it bumps into something, these little parts right here will kind of protect it from what it's hitting into. And then the bottom, it goes around the bottom too, so if it's a rough landing, it doesn't immediately hit the propellers. Again, this kind of training cage is more focused on the kind of protecting the propellers. It's not so much focusing on protecting the drone, which a lot of them are better at. So I wouldn't use this because, I mean, propellers aren't too expensive, and a lot of the drones come with a ton of them. And I've really never used training cages, like I said before. So, yeah, not exactly what I would really use that much. So, that is basically what I would recommend for everyone who's starting a drone. I can make a part 2 if anyone's still has questions. If you have questions, leave them in the comment section. But yeah, so this is basically everything I think you should know before you fly a drone. But I don't think, if I left anything out, let me know. Alrighty, this has been RC Kid, signing off.